Hey y'all, welcome to Cornbread and Roses. I'm your friendly neighborhood organizer, Austin, and I'm here tonight with Jason.
Hello, comrades.
And we got a guest, Miss Joy.
Yep, yep,
Why
yep,
don't
yep.
you take uh, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself?
Okay, I don't know. What should I say? I'm Joy. I try to produce a podcast about local Alabama, mostly politics, called HSV Progressive. I hope that some of your listeners have maybe checked it out. I don't know, but check it out if you haven't. Although I have to admit, I've been really slacking on that front. Um, I am also, by the way, believe it or not, the state chair of the Green Party of Alabama. It's just, at least temporarily, I am. So we're, whatever that means, okay? It sounds a whole lot more impressive than it actually is, okay? Um, and I teach math and I write
Outside.
poetry.
Oh yeah, I write a little poetry myself too. We would be remiss. Maybe we'll. I hope we have time to talk about the Sex Clark Five
Oh my gosh.
because
Oh my gosh, you're crazy. Yeah, sure. We can talk about Sex Lark 5. I don't care.
all right. But yeah, thank you for being here. You've honored me with being a guest on your show a couple
Hmm.
times, and I greatly appreciate that. And we'll talk more about you in a few.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna start and try to you know I as we do, we're going to talk about some memes, conspiracy this week in socialist history. We're going to talk a little bit about the People's Movement Assembly and the upcoming Marjorie Taylor Queens event, and then we'll talk to you, Joy, about your work in the community in Alabama, and we're going to feature an article about the 2022 constitutional amendment that passed in Alabama about slavery, and then do a rundown of some articles. And yeah, let's get to it. So,
Okay, but I am allowed to comment when
oh,
it's not about me, right?
you,
Oh, yeah, you say whatever you want.
yeah, you jump in
Because
anytime.
Yeah.
because good luck keeping me shut up, okay? Just good luck.
No, it's all good. That's what you're here for.
Yay.
Please jump in whenever you have a point to make.
Yeah,
That will hopefully they'll be halfway decent points, but whatever.
I
You
encourage.
are way more experienced and better podcaster than we are. Believe us.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Did we mention this is the most unprofessional podcast in Alabama, probably the country, and maybe the known universe as
Well,
well?
I always say that I'm a complete amateur on my podcast. But
See,
you know what? I don't think I'm going to get in a pissing contest with you about who's more unprofessional.
we are in good company with each other then. So I got some critiques this week on my memeage from the 15-year-old. She was like, "Bro, too many words. All of them, too many words." And I tend to agree that brevity is the soul of wit. We actually had this format the other day. Bro, please, just one more war in the Middle East. We can finally fix it, bro. It's different this time, bro. Come on, bro. The crisis isn't contrived, bro. It's real. If Iranians don't adopt American freedom, they're going to nuke the crumble headquarters, bro. We can stop that with just a couple $1 trillion in the lives of just one more generation. Come on, bro. Aren't you a patriot? Yeah, with due crime.
Well, I do think that the plethora of wordage there is drives home the sarcasm. So it's
Yes,
not pointless.
yes. And, hey, uh, I, wall of text, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And we got dude with girlfriend, classic format. The U.S. government looking back with war with Russia, China, and Iran, and the American people in needs of basic services girlfriend.
Yep.
I like this right here. A little advice. Boyfriend, we could start dressing up as ICE agents and escorting people from their immigration hearings so it looks like they've already been detained, but we just give them a ride home.
That's a good idea.
Yes. I actually saw a couple soldiers escorting their mom to her immigration hearing this week, in uniform. So there and back. And yeah.
Amen.
Maybe I need to dust off my uniform. Classic from the movie Ants, which I need to force the children to watch. They might have already watched it. I have no clue what they have and haven't seen, to be honest. Those puny ants.
I've never seen it, by the way.
You haven't?
No.
I've never seen it either.
Oh my goodness. I remember seeing it as a kid.
Maybe that's a good thing for us to have a Green Party movie night over.
I love
Ants. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
No, you're good, sister. Those puny ants outnumber us 100-1, and if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food; it's about keeping those ants in line. Hopper, the evildoer. I feel like this one is missing something. I feel like we could add an orca here, but I'm assembling a team with the submarine, Luigi Mangione, and a bee, and a 53-year-old billionaire, Sanjay Kapoor, has died after a bee stung him in the mouth during a polo match, triggering a heart attack.
Woo. Oh, wow.
Poor baby.
Yeah. That's a rough way, though. Like,
during a polo match.
That'd be great to put some orcas in there, too. I agree.
Yeah, the polo match is like the cherry on top of that. Like, yeah. Here we got Bush. Iraq has WMDs.
That's
Trump.
a pretty good imitation.
Thank you. Let me try my Trump out. Trump. Iran has WMDs.
Not bad. Not bad.
All right. And then we got Michael J. Fox. Back to the Future. Hey, I've seen this one. Wait. I got to work on my Michael J. Fox. We got this one right here. Very, I love that it's on a cake. 2025 feels like being awake during surgery.
Yikes. Yeah. I can't argue that.
Yeah. Sounds a little hard to see, but all this for bone spurs, dude in the tank. And then we got over here some old orange guy with a tiny dick. Said he wanted to see tanks in the street. And
yep.
Got a little limp one going on.
Sure enough. That's funny.
A little more advice out there. ICE agents are complaining that every time they go out wearing masks in unmarked cars with no uniforms or identification as law enforcement to abduct people, protesters keep dumping pounds of glitter on them so that everyone can tell they're ICE 4 days afterwards.
Yay.
From Cabin in the Woods, who had glitter bombing the Gestapo on their bingo cards. I did. I was thinking about that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's like, why haven't we seen the glitter get broken out yet?
Well, I'm going to have to say it's really funny, but don't glitter bomb because it's terrible microplastic pollution. Okay.
Don't they make compostable glitter now?
Maybe they do. Okay, but it still takes a long time even for compostable plastics to break down. So it's probably iffy still. Sorry.
But if we get rid of the ICE agents, we can then use that money to hire people to clean up all the microplastics. Yeah.
Well, maybe, but okay. Good.
They're called microplastics for a reason. They're like
okay. Then
really
we hire
tiny.
Small people, Joy. We just hire really small people.
There's a such thing as bio glitter, but you know how those things go. They may not be This is the world's first certified freshwater biodegradable glitter brand. But
yeah, but how long does it actually take to degrade? As a matter of fact, there's a training that I'm going to probably sign up for where they talk about the bioplastics, the degradable plastics, and I'll let you guys know what they say. Okay,
fair enough.
I'm going to learn for sure.
I've actually started leaning in and microwaving saran wrap as a snack. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, this definitely is a unprofessional podcast. Yes.
Yeah. So we got here one of my favorite guys ever.
Oh my
The
God.
guy on the left was arrested and convicted for illegally selling missiles to Iran during the Reagan administration. The guy on the right is a Fox News military analyst, quote unquote, who thinks Iran shouldn't have missiles. They're the same guy. That's Colonel Oliver North, Iran Contra. I saw Reagan's Israel policy from 1982 this past week, and he actually advocated for Palestinian rights.
Yep, he sure did. I don't understand how we've gotten so. I just don't understand.
Another 4 years of propaganda and, whatever this means into the media atmosphere and APAC and all that. I did see that APAC and J Street are fighting. The girls are fighting
over what?
They're fighting over who's more hardcore Zionist. It's like, pretty good. I love to see, divisions created amongst the fascists. My crew built this house. It cost $300,000. Capitalist pig. This house costs $600K, or you can be arrested for living in the street. Capitalist pig. I'll take every home you've got. Working class. I love freedom.
Yeah.
A couple more. What sin do you relish the most? Oh wait, hold on. What sin do you relish the most? I don't know. Is that a good Squidward?
I never saw this show.
Wrath.
I've only seen it once or twice, so I'm believable.
How righteous. My fury is justified. My anger is pure. You wear your vengeance like armor, but it corrodes from within. You will become what you aimed to destroy.
No, I won't.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe not.
Maybe not.
I don't care if I do. Who cares? I mean, it's at least I'm being true.
Hey, we're all sinners. You don't pick a sin. Righteous wrath is a good one.
I mean, I'm a fan of all seven, but I definitely got to go with wrath.
We got here. I'm gonna keep it real with you, United States military. I'm not fucking dying for Israel. We do have some service members who are definitely. There was a colonel that got replaced from his position this past week for saying that maybe Israel's doing a genocide. But yeah, that's. Oh, I know you. One more and onto the conspiracy. If Kamala was president right now, Secretary of Defense Liz Cheney would be calling for a tactical nuclear strike on Iran, and millions of Democrat voters would be cheering it on as a victory for democracy. Eat spicy goodness like a boss. I love memes. So the 15-year-old hated this one the most. She said that this looked like something a middle schooler would make for their presentation to the class.
I'm glad that you're focus grouping the memes.
Yes.
With the youth today.
Look at that. Thank you, Chris. He said the Squidward was solid. Solid. All right.
There you go.
All right. So with that, The memes are over, and if I can find the tabs, because boy, I got a lot of tabs open. I don't know. Anybody got a record on tabs?
I don't know, but can I just take a second?
Yes.
To since we were talking about wrath as being one of the 7 deadly sins, right? The 7 deadly sins are pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth.
Way to go.
I've got them in front of me. I don't have them memorized. Okay, I've got them in my book. But
don't tell them your secrets.
The new 7 deadly sins are. You guys ready?
Let me hear them.
Apathy, cruelty, duplicity, hypocrisy, false morality, abuse of power, and cultivated ignorance.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Not only is it beautiful, it does not describe exactly what how we've gotten in the mess that we're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sins 2.0 is way better. Way better. Because I don't know about you. Sometimes I eat too many hot dogs. And does that make me a glutton? I guess so. But I think striking Iran might be under false pretenses in support of a fascist state might be a little worse.
Worse. And in order to accomplish that, we've got apathy from a lot of people. The act itself is cruelty. Lying about weapons of mass destruction would be duplicity. Hypocrisy would be pretending like that was what you were actually doing it for, you know. False morality is pretending like our religion is better or something like that, right? Abuse of power is that explains itself. And cultivated ignorance is how you manage to get a bunch of people to go along with it.
Yeah.
That's the propaganda that you were talking about earlier.
Well, the bombs, they burn off the hijabs to free people.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
So yeah. I love the 2.0 sins, Joy. That's some real liberation theology right there. I love it. So just real quick, I don't know if y'all have heard, but there are some lawsuits going down, not by the Democrats, oddly enough, and I'll kind of get to that, but there are some lawsuits regarding the election that just passed. Lawsuits challenged in 2024 election results move forward after Kamala Harris received 0 votes in a New York county. So yeah, there was somewhere around 500, 800 voters in that county that like voted for other Democrats, but not for Harris. Now, and y'all are both fucking math nerds. Y'all tell me.
Oh Lord, don't put me on the spot.
If there's not some weird statistical anomalies going on.
Well, look, so the likelihood of that being 0 is extremely unlikely. That totally. So that does, and that's a large enough sample size to draw conclusions from. So that does definitely look like something very wrong happened. I'm not, and I don't even, I mean, out of 800 nobody, yeah, that's got to be way more than 3 standard deviations away from the mean, you know.
Okay, I'm thinking of another county because this is it's
still,
not just
this 331 is a huge sample size, okay, for doing statistics with. That there's just, yeah, that's not that I particularly wanted Harris to win either, but anyway. Although that last meme you showed us, you know, definitely said how great it would be if she had. But anyway.
No, I know it's hard not to get frustrated because you know if Harris had won, Like there would still probably be bombings in Iran.
Mhm.
There would still be ICE agents prowling the streets, so they might not be masked.
Uh-huh.
And there would be a lot more acquiescence to it.
But
Oh, look, Bonamenti. I know him.
I was about to say, right? Shout out UAB in Huntsville.
UAH.
Oh yeah,
UA in Huntsville.
it said UAB.
Well,
UAH.
because UAB does have offices here in Huntsville because they have medical training that they do at the Huntsville Hospital type stuff. So we'll give you, an excuse, okay?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate your grace. This article goes a little deeper into the theory of how it happened. Of course, the good old Curtis Yarvin and his Dark Enlightenment coup that he, designed from a strategy point. You go through it, it's like 7 different things that are happening right now. Like rage, retire all government workers, etc. But Leonard Leo, he's been shaping the Supreme Court, and he's a Opus Dei dude. So I guess he's self-flagellates a little bit. One of my favorite little combination of words. But it goes through and talks about the operating system and of the election machines, and how the universal power supply, which is like a backup power supply if the power goes out in a building, like for computer equipment, and how that can be used to update, and how they're like linked to Starlink satellites. So like yeah, and there's a couple different groups looking at this. The Election Defense Alliance, I can't remember now, shit. They're part of this with the smart vote people, but this goes on pretty in depth. Shows like statistical drop off from 2016 versus 2024. Some other drop off statistics, swing states versus non-swing states. And one of the things is like they changed just enough votes to not trigger a recount, and other such things. But yeah, this is, and the question being is like, why would the Democrats not look at this, right? If it had some weight is like the main question.
Well,
But like,
the answer to that is they're fine with the way things are. That's the answer.
See,
that's what you brought me on to say, right?
Yeah, I kind of got the same vibe off that, but the weird part of all this is this lady who ran for Senate up in New York, Diane Sayer. She is the one who is bringing the lawsuit because she got a is it affidavit? Is that right? Saying from multiple voters, she got 0 votes apparently, and she has signed affidavits that at least
they actually did vote for her.
Right, but she. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Lyndon LaRouche. Okay. The silence.
I am familiar with Lyndon LaRouche.
Okay, you want to give me a little breakdown on Lyndon LaRouche from your perspective?
So I don't know if I know him that well enough. He was like he was like a prominent conspiracy theorist and like a perennial candidate.
Yeah.
Who ran for president several times. It was weird because he started off as like a leftist and was supportive of the civil rights movement, but in the 70s he like went way to the far right.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Almost like he was a plant that infested the leftist movements and then like turned and flipped and created division, like a CIA agent.
I mean, maybe. I think they're lunatics on. I think people who like extreme points of view are drawn to extreme points of view, even if their priors change, they go to the other side.
So like, if you're on the horseshoe, you just like jump back and forth.
I don't think that's true of everybody generally, and I reject horseshoe theory. And
I do too. Thank you, Jason.
But I am saying there is a personality type that is drawn to extreme points of view, and will gravitate towards one to another. A lot of the neocons started off as socialists and liberals as well, and they became far right leaning people. So,
like you see that today with like podcasters, like the whole podcast. Especially with these comedians and whatnot, like the grift is like the what is it called when you sit there and want something? Not jealousy, but
envy,
something like that. The temptation of the grift. It's like, if I get it looked like I got a few more views when I said some outlandish right-wing shit.
Oh yeah.
I guess I'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, no. I mean, hasn't that really what happened to Joe Rogan?
Right. The right is so good at pipelining people rightwards, and we need to learn how to pipeline people leftwards.
I'll pipeline some shit. You can own property in North Korea. There we go.
I bet it's a whole lot cheaper than owning property in Huntsville.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I saw this week that there's a 19% increase in the price of homes this past year. So that's cool.
In Huntsville?
Throughout the nation.
Oh, nationwide.
So everybody.
Yeah, I think it's gone up more than 19% here, though.
Oh, I'm sure there's like 450, it's either 450 new people or new families are coming in every month into the Huntsville area. I think it's people. But yeah. All right.
How did LaRouche figure into all this?
So how did LaRouche get into all this?
Yeah.
So that Diane Sayer, she's part of the LaRouche the LaRouche Institute.
Wow.
And she's been
the LaRouche Institute kind of sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Kind of.
But she's like a chamber musician originally. And
the LaRouche Institute is all about. I'm going to wind up on a list for Googling this, or I use DuckDuckGo.
Thank you.
We got to use it. Yeah.
But I recommend ecosia.org for your searches.
I like Ecosia too.
Yeah, they plant trees with their profits.
Actually, I should do that.
All over the world, they plant trees.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo or Ecosia, top two search engines out there for sure. But soon we'll have to implement the Tails OS and Tor browsing onto a hidden streaming system with the way things are going.
So here are the main goals of the Lyndon LaRouche movement, and these are things I didn't quite know. So restoration of Glass-Steagall, which is not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah.
Since 2007, the movement has actively campaigned to restore the Glass-Steagall Act to separate commercial banking from speculative investment banking, protecting the former and not bailing out the latter. I mean,
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
The abandonment of floating exchange rates and return to the Bretton Woods-style fixed rates, with gold or an equivalent used as an under the gold reserve system. This is not to be confused with the gold standard, which LaRouche did not support. So it's basically going back to Bretton Woods, which I don't know if that's feasible. In fact, I'm pretty sure that it isn't.
And yeah, I think that's in the Bible too. Like the whole the interest. There's something with interest rates in the Bible.
Oh yeah, no, look. No, don't get me started. I'm sorry. Just go on.
It's all good. So, a Eurasian land bridge, lectures and rights on behalf of a Eurasian land bridge, a massive high-speed maglev railway project to span continents. Okay.
I mean, that sounds like Icebreaker. Yeah,
that movie.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, Icebreaker. What the hell?
Well, no, because there are icebreaker ships that they trawl to that region to get through the ice. So that's probably what.
Yeah.
No, he's just a partier. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Scientific pitch argues in favor of what they call Verdi tuning in classical music, at which A equals 432 hertz, and as opposed to the common practice today of tuning A is 440 hertz. Now, why in God's name? I don't even have an opinion about this.
That's weird.
That's very strange.
What?
I don't know, but now we can talk about Sex Clark 5, at least in that I tune my bass to an A of 440, okay?
Well, that's what everybody does.
Yeah. Why do we need to change it? I don't know. I
don't know either. I haven't looked into that. Like I'm always in favor of, like, not in favor of, but I always like weird things like, oh, we should use duodecimal numbers instead of base 10. I just enjoy learning about this. I don't necessarily advocate for them, but I enjoy learning about, like, kookier stuff. So I'm going to be diving down this particular rabbit hole later of why they want quote unquote scientific pitch. Here's what I'm absolutely opposed to: Mars colonization. I am against the colonization of Mars.
Well, it's not feasible, honestly. So
I don't think it's feasible either.
Long term, but with the way things are now, like, yeah, fuck that, dude.
Do you want to live in a company town owned by Elon Musk?
Exactly.
And named Muskland or something?
Well, if we sent all the billionaires up there to sort it out, that would be great. But other than that, yeah, we'll end up with the Expanse or what? Yeah, as Chris says, maybe in 100 years. Let's worry about it. Let's sort the shit out here on Earth first.
I say we keep Mars pristine. I don't think we have the right to go and trash another planet.
You know what? You're right. It's more of this colonization, patriarchal white patriarchy colonizing the same stuff.
Well, can you colonize something without any people?
Okay, looky. People are not the only thing.
Oh, now we're getting into, like, what is I saw this week, virgin land theory. So
right.
Yeah.
That's been the dream forever. But they're talking about chewing up the asteroids and getting the minerals and the metals out of them. And I just am opposed to that. I think there's a value in pristine nature. And that includes the nature in space and not...
And we've got to not look out to solve our problems. We need to solve our problems here.
I totally agree.
We can't keep having this crutch of there's someplace else we can go to get our stuff. That's what's gotten us where we are. Not good.
So the LaRouche movement is kind of weird, and they don't seem to have, like, a consistent thing. Like, none of these ideas are especially what I would consider right wing per se, other than returning to Bretton Woods. Well, and there's some stuff in here about directed beam weapons for use against ICBM. So they support Star Wars.
Well, I mean, Star Wars are cool.
Oh my God. I was working for NASA back when the whole Star Wars thing was proposed. And we all knew then that it was not it couldn't work. Of course, everybody was perfectly happy to take the money on the contracts and stuff, but. And I even worked on a cosmic ray detector to put on a rocket that would go to Mars to see how much cosmic radiation that people would be exposed to,
A lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I fucking nailed it.
It's not like I was really with that project long enough to know if it ever came up with any definitive sort of answers, we were just in the sort of designing the detector thing. But yeah, that was George W. Bush's push to Mars when he was trying to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm old.
Well,
no, I'm equally old. So,
well, moving on from the conspiracies, we're going to do this week in socialist history. Jay, you got a couple things lined up before I read through this week?
I don't really have much this week. I know it is almost the anniversary of George Custer's last stand on Little Bighorn River, where he was attacked by Sioux Indians, among others, and utterly routed. Only one scout and a single horse survived Custer's last stand on the Little Bighorn River. So that's something to me worth celebrating, the death of a colonizer and someone who had participated in broken treaties and great violence against indigenous people, got what was coming to him. And yeah, I'm a happy grave dancer. I will dance on your grave.
Amen.
As long as it's not like this. As long as it's not like this.
Yeah, I don't do the Donald Trump.
I wonder how many years it took him to develop that, but that's a question for another time. Well, this week in socialist history, again, still June, and there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Abstract
Cubism.
Yeah, from the DSA, Socialists of America. That's like saying ATM machine. But this week, we've got Eugene Debs delivers an anti-war speech in Canton, Ohio, for which he is later imprisoned in 1918. We got the East German Workers' Uprising, 1953. ANPO protests against the U.S. military presence reaches height in Japan, 1960. Of course, happy Juneteenth, y'all. This past Juneteenth, I went to a Juneteenth event, talked to an organizer at one of the tables out there and had a great conversation. But Juneteenth, June 19th, marks the permanent end to slavery in the U.S. in 1865 out in Texas.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll be talking about that a little bit later, won't we?
Yeah. And the 20th, Lillian Hellman, leftist playwright, born 1905. If we could turn this week in socialist history and its whole podcast to itself, because I'm wanting to look up the work she did.
And then we could all read parts and actually act out the play that you found. Yeah. Yep.
Dog, I love it. That would be fun as hell. Yeah, I've been wanting to start up a tabletop RPG where the players hunt billionaires in a modern era. You know,
Uh-oh.
I think that would be a fun little show to do, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
The 21st, 20 of the Molly Maguires, a militant mine worker organization, executed 1877. And then lastly, on the 22nd, revolt leaders Denmark Vesey and Peter Poyas arrested in South Carolina, 1822. No. So, yeah, that's this week in socialist history. Hope you learned a little something. I know I did.
I know it just makes me think about how we need to, do more strikes, general strike and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Well, I'll say those boycotts on Target and a whole lot of other things are working, and BDS took down apartheid South Africa, so the shit works.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I know that there's a certain country at the end of the Mediterranean whose economy is in the toilet.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see China cut off trade with Israel. Doubt it will happen, but they're Israel's number one trading partner, which, yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris, excellent point. General Strike US, baby. Sign the strike card. I think the website is generalstrikeus.com. But yes, there's close to 400,000 people that have signed it so far, which, that's not bad.
I didn't know about this. I'm making a note.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Actually, that might be like a good step to demand of folks protesting no kings and whatnot, to, if you're leading one of those protests and rallies and whatnot, to demand that they go on and sign up and get involved and get on the Discord server. But yeah, it feels like, other things aside, that a general strike would be quite a shortcut for us to solve a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we're going to talk about the People's Movement Assembly that took place here in Huntsville, ran by the At the Root Collective. I got to be there all day. I got to bring one of my kids with me. They took part and contributed, and had a wonderful time. Jay, you were there. Joy, you were there at the end. And Jay, do you have any thoughts?
Well, it was a really well-run meeting. The food was really good. It was very productive conversations all day long. We diagnosed what the problems we wanted to solve here in our community were, and brainstormed some solutions. It came up with some action items. And it was just a really well put on. It was one of the better organized events I've ever been to.
Yeah, it was awesome. Everything was awesome about it. It was very well structured. It started with everybody as a group creating a community agreement of 3-4 rules on how to navigate the day. One of the main exercises was, there's a tree, and then at the top of the tree is our problems, from lack of transportation to school shootings to all kinds of stuff, and then the trunk of the tree being the institutions that support or enable really those issues, and then below that the roots, the things at the root that support the institutions that create the problems, like capitalism or white supremacy or which my daughter put on the route. She put conforming, which made me very proud. Made one of the organizers we were working with at our table like have a real epiphany about things. So shout out to my little one.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, made me really, really proud. And then like all the food was all uh, community sourced. Like the bread was all homemade, all the vegetable, and it was vegan and had some chicken. The chickens came from somebody's house. The all the I don't know if they grew the rice. To be fair, maybe the wild rice, but I don't know if they grew the white rice. But
Well, we certainly used to grow rice in the Southeast.
yes, for
Are we
sure.
still growing rice in the Southeast? I'm not sure about.
No, not. Well, and I tell you what, right now, this whole area would be a good place to grow rice because there's when the rain
We're
comes,
inundated, yeah.
yeah, there's definitely some spots. I'm like, that looks straight up like a rice paddy, dog. Why? I would love to buy that land and turn it into a rice paddy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, uh, we did some other things, but yeah, and did self evaluation of like your, your heart, your hands, your heel. I'm gonna mess up describing all this stuff, but like basically like what are your passions like as far as knowledge? What skills do you have? Like what keeps you grounded? And there's a couple other ones, and then like analyzing what spaces we have available in the community, like virtual spaces or somebody's backyard to grow stuff, and what organizations are all around us. Like DSA
Mm-hmm.
or at the root or the Green Party.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then bringing all that stuff towards um, like how to uh, before that, then taking all these problems and then like organizing them as far as like urgency and importance, and then going from problems to what solutions can we start creating that to from like you know um, let's say the attack on trans rights through the libraries. Well,
Uh-huh.
you can start creating little libraries around, or and we'll get to this in just a second, or do things like go to the Marjorie Taylor Queens event
Mm-hmm.
uh, this coming the 28th, which is I think a Saturday. Um, and let me find the flyer. Oh wait, I put it in the Discord. But like as far as like spaces, virtual spaces we have, um, you know, uh, I think did I do a pretty good job of describing everything, Jay?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm sorry I missed it. I really am. I didn't
Well,
know about it.
well,
I'm
don't you worry. I can't believe I didn't tell you. Oh my goodness, fail, fucking loser. Uh, but yeah, this coming 28th Saturday from 4 to 7 at Campus 805 area, the Butler, is it Butler or Butler's Green?
Butler.
There is the Marjorie Taylor Queens event to counter Marjorie Taylor
Yeah.
Marjoram Taters Greens, Magic the Gathering. She's coming to town, invited by the Moms for Liberties folks who've been assaulting almost around 2 years now the library system and the education system here in the state.
Uh-huh.
And there's going to be some support. We got there's going to be support by like Indivisible and DSA and All Track. Let me read it real quick. So Rainbow Trouble at the Root Collective, who we just mentioned, and All Track are all coming together to support the Diversity Library. I was talking about solutions at Shenanigans, which is a local comedy theater, among other things. It does some great events. Like there's weird kids, and they hosted
Jill Stein.
Yes.
Sure did.
With a book drive culminating in a fun afternoon at SR Butler Green. Local drag performers will join the fun as we share our favorite controversial books, talk about our wonderful local libraries, and help build up the Diversity Library. And if you get in contact with the organizers and you want to take part, or you might have something to say or what have you, you can reach out to them. You just look up Marjorie Taylor Queens, Huntsville, Rainbow Trouble. You should be able to find it on Facebook and be able to contact the organizers. But
this is this a place that people could, do you know, I don't even know if you know, that you could actually bring some books if you had books to donate to this cause?
Yes, it is a book drive.
Okay,
yes,
cool.
Sure. And of course, I'm sure they'll take some greenbacks if you ain't got no books to donate. But or they'll be happy just to have you if you ain't got no books or money.
I wonder if they'll take my zines.
Oh, yeah.
I print zines, but I print a lot of spicy zines, so I don't know if they want not like erotica, but like some very hot takes.
Oh my goodness! I have you have to share some of this zine action with me. I want to know what's up.
Okay, well I'll start bringing them to the coffee social.
Okay, cool, excellent.
That's a good idea, dog. Yeah, and but yeah, and to track back a little, we had several groups that were represented, like Alabama Progress. That's a Discord server you can join to meet up with other activists and organizers throughout the state to help. Obviously, DSA folks were there. There were, I can't even remember all the groups. That's why I should write stuff down and be more professional. But it is what it is, folks. But yeah, that's, and there's some training coming up in Memphis in next month. There's supposed to be there's a women's march coming up on July 4th, which the 5051s and 5051 was there, and they're going to be at the Marjorie Taylor Queens event. There's training coming up in Memphis on marshaling and like civil disobedience, and there's July 4th women's march is putting together something, and 5051 is trying to organize maybe a mutual aid type day, and then there's something on July 5th, and then there's something July. I don't have all the info in front of me. I couldn't find it. It's kind of not put out yet, but mid-July there's another event. So in other words, what I hear you saying is that you're going to find out all this information and tell everybody next week, right? Therefore, we should all tune in. Yeah. Yes, I'm teasing you. That's what I'm doing. That's right. Doing a teaser. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I will have that stuff. Because that's something that like we take seriously, is the training, mobilizing, but getting from trained to mobilized to into organizing and action. And at the heart of what we were doing at the People's Movement Assembly is finding actions to take and building structures to back up working class people and to attack the problems that we are having out there. like trans rights, like the ICE stuff, and immigrants' rights, and everything else. But yeah, so yeah, I think that brings us to the interview portion of the evening. And that's you, Joy. We're gonna do a little interview with you. So, Joy, when let's start with so you're a teacher of math.
Yes.
When you're a rock star, 'cause we do need
I will
to.
say, yeah, I will say that one time, my mother came to one of our shows one time, and when we were done, and I went and talked to her, she said, "Well, you're certainly the most interesting thing happening up on stage." So if that's what it takes to be a rock star, then I'm a rock star. But
Oh, that's sweet. Like
yeah, whatever.
it is. It is. Um, you need to. I don't know if I can make it play because I have notoriously bad video problems when trying to present something. But you tell us one of these songs to play before the end of the show, and I definitely want to play it.
No, well, I mean, if you're interviewing me, you should play um, "Can't Shake Loose."
Can't shake. Oh, got it right here. Okay, we will play that soon enough. But you know, oh, when did you start organizing and being an activist and stuff?
Oh God. Okay, so uh, I uh, I'm weird. Okay. Um,
I'm in that
I
boat.
yeah. I was so I kind of lived all over the world because my mother married an engineer who wound up working for the Army Corps of Engineers, and we got sent to Saudi Arabia, and I went to school in England for a while, and so first of all, that kind of you go to Saudi Arabia, at least back in the 70s when I was there, okay, and I was just a kid, okay. Anyway, you're the minority there, so that starts to change how you see things, okay. And then you leaving there and going to England and then coming to Huntsville, Alabama. Oh, it was just culture shock after culture shock. I didn't understand what the hell was going on, about anything. And so having your legs like out from underneath you like that is perspective changing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you can kind of, well, anyway, you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I
I just already was just a little bit off balance. Well, not more than a little bit. And then we moved to a farm up in near Ardmore, okay? And I had some horses, and we wound up doing cattle and goats and chickens and geese and ducks and all of that kind of stuff, okay? And so this also got me into the vein of back to the land sort of sensibilities and stuff like that, okay? So I don't know, you kind of take all of those things and you mush them all together, and while I've been dumped in Huntsville, Alabama, way back then, and I became very aware, especially as I probably anyway at some point in my college education, I became acutely aware that we could not keep doing things the way we're doing things. And for me, at the time, that was mostly centered around energy, but it was more than that, right? The dependence on the automobile, which is related to energy, but it was just I could just see that we were putting together our society wacko, you know. So you can kind of pin it back there to my start as an activist. But you can't really say that either because I felt so unbelievably alone in my opinions here in Huntsville, Alabama. So it's not like I did a whole bunch of activism, you know. If I had a chance to talk to anybody about things like, gay people are people too, or abortion rights or anything like that, I would certainly take the opportunity, but I did not have the opportunity very much. And so I did, of course, the only sensible thing, I drank a great deal in order to just deal with being here,
I've been
But
in that boat.
yeah, but about 20 years ago or so, I had a sort of a catastrophic event in my life. Welcome to the world, and I don't know. It just made everything that was true so much more important to me. And the drinking didn't immediately go down, but it definitely started a downhill slide. And the me being thinking and engaged and outspoken and angry, speaking of wrath, as all get out, kind of started there. And you know what? I'm going to have to say it was bolstered by, is everybody sitting down? It was bolstered by poetry. I think there you can't. It's not nothing. If you get, to me, reading poetry is a very honest activity, and the honesty just became super important to me. Super important to me, and I credit poetry with bolstering some of that inclination.
Yeah, that's funny.
And here I am.
That's and we're glad you're here. And
Thank
that's
you.
funny you say that because like one of the questions like what is like super important to you, and like my answer was art. The expression of the human soul, as to like what's worth fighting for. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
To hear you talk about poetry, and I write poetry and lyrics as
Mm-hmm.
best I can. Yeah, it's you know that shows the importance of art in the movement for working class people. Like how it
Well,
can.
I think it's more. It's not just the movement from working class people, which is just part of this being just honest about our existence, the reality of our place in the world. And of course that speaks to class situations. It speaks to environment. It speaks to a lot of stuff, and absolutely. But it's yeah, it's just big.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
the landscape of activism and organizing, from the time that you were starting to live in Huntsville and stuff, it sounds like it's very fundamentally changed. Are you seeing that, like, comparatively to the past? Like, I feel like I saw a statistic the other day: 70% of millennials would vote for a socialist president. You know, uh, it feels like things have really changed since you know your uh,
Well,
the
now,
awakening.
okay, when I first got here, this was, a blue state. Okay. I remember the governor's race where that basically changed us to a red state because the two Democratic contenders for the governors just reamed each other out of consideration, and we got Guy Hunt because the two Democrats just knocked each other out of the running.
I got another
And the
name for
minute
you.
that happened, everything changed as far as the the affiliation of people. It just they started switching. Everything was like some house of cards, sort of coming apart. And which is okay, because honestly, a blue dog Democratic state was really right wing anyway. So at least it's more honest to go ahead and be Republicans, I guess,
Yeah.
So I remember when that happened. But so other, but back then, I'm going to tell you, when I was like in high school, it was, let me tell you this, okay? It was a recognized fact that AEA, the Alabama Educational Association, that union was powerful. They dictated all kinds of educational stuff. That is no longer true at all. So whereas you might say that activism, there's a lot more presence and people doing things and stuff like that, we have nonetheless been the victim of the systematic disempowering of the working class, like the rest of the country, but in spades, honestly, because they love for Alabama to be cheap labor, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know if that addresses what you wanted me
No,
to say or not.
No, it totally does. Like it gives me perspective, at least. I hope it gives some viewers a perspective on the shifts in power here and effectively and nationally as well. And it's very interesting to hear you say that how much power the teachers used to have.
They used to every school in the state had the same spring break, for instance. That was them that did that. That is not the case anymore. Never mind that our curriculum is just getting all kinds of screwed up because it's being run by these lawyers and businessmen in Montgomery, not by educators,
Yeah.
And cultivated ignorance is one of the 2.0, as you call it, sins,
Yeah.
They're working it.
That's actually something that me and my little group talked about was, the education bureaucracy and it being run by rich folks,
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm giving them too much credit by calling them folks because it's more like monsters we're fighting. But so what came first, the Green Party or the podcast?
Oh, well, I have to say that the Green Party came first because when I went away to college, my freshman fall semester at the school I was going to, they had an environmental symposium. And Barry Commoner, who had run on the Green Party ticket, actually, I believe it was a different Green Party than we have now, but nonetheless, came and spoke at that symposium. And there I was, this mishmash of concern about how we were running things all wrong. And he stood up there and said his piece, and he said, talked about how he ran on the Green Party ticket. He didn't talk about being Green Party or what the Green Party was or anything. He just mentioned, or in his somebody introduced him as having. And I said, Green Party? Oh my God, that's for me. So that was 1979. The podcast is only 4 years old.
Very commoner. That's so in the Green Party for president. That's like something out of a book,
Thanks. Yeah. No, nobody but us remembers that stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
what are some of your ambitions for the state Green Party? Like what kind of things do you have planned, or what's the Johnson tenure of the state Green Party going to look like?
Mostly with me, as it was with Ani, who was the chair before me. We're just trying to keep the Alabama party together, okay? I don't, I am the chair, but I have no officers underneath me. Nobody stood for election or anything. Nobody showed up. So I just took on being the chair. And so it's really hard for me to get very much done, So, but we're just trying to do some presence building. I want to, that I'm trying to start up a podcast for the Alabama Green Party to talk about the Green Party platform and what it means to us as in Alabama, how we interpret it. I think that's just a good sort of, first of all, whenever we're out campaigning, the most important thing that we say is check out our platform, And so it would just be another tool to help people find out more about the Green Party platform. It's fabulous. I can't tell you. I've been in, speaking of being an activist, I've been in several different activism groups where they're kind of doing sort of like what you're talking about, setting things up at the beginning, like your what happened on Saturday? What was it that I missed?
Oh, the People's Movement.
People's Movement. Like you're talking about, they're setting up the rules and stuff like that. So I've been in more than one organization where they're like, well, we need to set up what are our priorities. And I went to the Green Party website and printed out the pertinent planks from the platform and said, I didn't tell them it was there from the Green Party. These should be our initiatives. And everybody loves them every time they get adopted. We have a fantastic platform. And since I'm speaking on a DSA podcast, I'm going to say that the Green Party has come out as pro-socialist, anti-capitalist. I want everybody to understand.
I was there when that happened. 2016.
Yeah, absolutely. Just unequivocally, they did it in 2016, but they certainly were spouting all of those ideas before then, and I forgot what the question was totally. Oh yeah. What am I doing with the Green Party? Yeah. So I want to do that podcast. And so I'm still kind of working on, getting volunteers lined up and topics lined up and all that kind of good stuff. And I will also run, probably, if everybody is agreeable, I will run those as bonus episodes on HSV Progressive because I can. And I'm also, we're having a state meeting in Montgomery at the end of July, where I am very much hoping that there will be people who show up and stand to be elected for not just the chair, but also some more officers so that we could actually maybe share the work a little bit and get some more stuff done. We want to put together a reading group and a documentary viewing group, sort of online stuff to just build community and investigate, what's out there and build community, and that's a pretty good list, isn't it? I can't think of something else right now.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
I organizing is hard, and organizing by yourself is
damn near impossible.
So kudos for you for having the grit and determination to stick with it, because a lot of people take a knee and they don't stand back up. But it sounds like there's, I'm hearing opportunity. I'm hearing opportunity for people to, and I've, real quick, I've read the Green Party platform, and I think it's excellent. But it sounds like there's opportunity, and I definitely want to help you spread the message, especially about that meeting in Montgomery. And
thank you.
We need to get you a flyer made and just start.
Oh God, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I do want to say that we do, if you want to get our newsletters and stuff like that, algp.org is our website. Jason put it together for us. And there's a contact form so that you can, we'll have your name and we put you on the mailing list and all that kind of good stuff.
Oops.
ALGP.org.
I'm finding that right now.
It's very basic WordPress. Like,
yeah, but it definitely is very easy to find the fill in this for the contact thing,
Do not, what's the word? Undercut yourself, did you, Jay?
WordPress. No, it's terrible. It's everything I do.
It's not terrible. Oh, stop it. I will also say, though, that there is a group, an Alabama Green Party official group on Facebook, if you're on Facebook. We also have, up here in North Alabama, we have our own chapter of the Green Party. And there's a Facebook page for Green Party of Madison County in North Alabama. You could find it. And there's also a website for us up here called gpmadcoalabama.org. If any, and a contact form on that one too.
Absolutely.
And definitely look for us at events. Tabling, we might be actually show up and be tabling places.
Yeah, y'all better. You're always welcome to sit at the DSA table up here and share space with us to help.
That's fabulous. Thank you.
Of course. I'm trying to find. There's like 2 Alabama Green Party things.
What, on Facebook or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them is the Alabama Green Party official. That's the state one.
Okay.
What's the other one called?
It didn't say official.
Yeah.
The last post was from 2020.
Yeah, that's some relic. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing Ani right here. Admin posted something a couple hours ago, as a matter of fact. I want to make sure I drop the right one in.
Yeah, yep. That's us. Yes.
And then the Madison County.
Yeah, it's gpmadcoalabama.org.
Drop that one in there. Is there a Facebook?
Yeah, there's a Facebook. Now, what is the Facebook group called?
Green Party it's Madison County.
I think something like that. Yeah.
Madison County Greens.
It's a page as a no. It's Green Party of Madison County on Facebook.
Yes. What's that? The GP Madco?
gpmadcoalabama.org. Alabama is spelled out because if you just write GP Madco AL, it looks like it's saying GP Mad Coal. So we spelled out Alabama.
Well, but to be mad at coal would be correct, though.
Yeah.
Morally correct.
Yes, I think.
It's funny. I saw a couple different things. Like, I think I'm mixing this up. I don't want to miss. But I saw something about maybe I'm thinking veterans. I'm thinking veterans are over at a 80%, 86% rate wanting green jobs and support green jobs. But
it's just so weird how there's so much grassroots desire for change.
Yes.
And a recognition of what I was talking about. We can't keep doing things the way we're doing things. But you go to Huntsville City Council and they want nothing but to keep doing things exactly the way we've been doing things.
Yeah, and we have an article, a little headline we'll talk about that. But I think we'll do one last question before we get to the articles. you're a one man or one woman show. With your show, you said you've been doing it about 4 years now.
I'm in year 4. Yeah.
What like what brought it on for you? Where I'm over
I
here,
will
the
once
only
again.
socialist podcast in Alabama, but you're definitely socialist podcast.
I will. Well, progressive. Okay, let's just call it HSV Progressive. So I like that. Anyway, what brought it on is, guess what? Wrath. I started going to Huntsville City Council meetings before 2020, before all the George Floyd stuff happened. And I went basically to bitch about environmental stuff. That's what I went for. And by the way, it was a whole lot easier back then to actually stand up and just talk. They changed the format after George Floyd happened.
Yep.
And it was just like beating my head against the wall. And you go in and you read the agenda, and there's like 50, not that many, but 25 items that just get passed without even, most of them, no discussion or explanation or anything. That's just bang. Yep, everybody votes on of the whole thing go. And you read through them, and it's like, well, all of this stuff is like good for developers. And I'm like, that's not the social contract. That's not the social contract. And so repeated exposure at city council, because I just wanted to show up and bitch about environmental stuff. But just the repeated exposure and repeated exposure and repeated exposure to this status quo just got me angrier and angrier. And then I discovered podcasts, and I said, well, hell, I'm going to do one of those because I need an outlet for this wrath, And that's really what keeps me going, doing it.
I like that you're fueled by pure, unadulterated hate.
Yeah.
It definitely, can be powerful emotion that can lead people in the right direction. And
it's not the greatest organizing tool, though. Okay. No. It's not. But however, I've been involved with groups where, I kind of have to step aside because I just want to bitch about everything. But they still want me around because I'm like the princess and the pea. I'm the thing that irritates.
Yeah.
And then they can come along and go, well, we would like to work with you, and then everybody's like, oh, thank God they're here.
Well, that's how we get pearls, with a little irritation, right?
That's a nice metaphor.
Well, I can't, say enough about your podcast and the grassroots work you do with it, and your consistency at showing. I mean, coming up on a decade at least of showing up at city council and bringing people in, albeit slowly but steadily. So I commend you, and I find you to be an inspiration. And
oh my gosh! Well, thank you.
Yeah, and your company is. I love your company, Joy. Gotten to hang out.
It's definitely mutual.
Thank you very much. Jay, you got any other questions before we hit up some articles?
No, I was going to ask about her time with the Sex Clark 5.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's why you're here. Am I still sharing that?
Yeah. Yes, well, it was definitely during that heavy drinking time. But
Wow.
I don't even know what happened. I just, I all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to play bass guitar. I don't know why. I don't know why it was the bass guitar. Got no idea. And then it just evolved into I was in this band and that cover band and stuff like that. And then I went to Tommy Shepard's, music store, instrument store, whatever. Actually, his instruments were inside Underground Records. Okay, and there was a posting on the board. We need a bass player, and I answered. I met the guy who is the main singer songwriter, and I thought this guy's a jackass, and so I was like, okay, never mind, But then he wrote me a letter, and what did he put, like, however much postage was back then, but he put the postage on my letter was all 1-cent stamps. So it was like he covered the front of the thing with 1-cent stamps, So it got my attention. And then it was all downhill from there. But yeah, no, I was in the band, and we recorded together 3 albums and a Peel session. And we went to London together, and we went to New York a couple of times, I think, and stuff. Yeah.
That's some fucking rock and roll right there, dog.
Yes. I'm
Hell
a rock and roller. I am a rock and roller. Yes. Unapologetic. I'm not. I'm more of a pop. I'm kind of into the pop music, and by that I mean a song. It's not just we're gonna play. It's not as punk, We're gonna just play everything as loud as we can and scream and stuff like that. I like to perform songs that sort of have a beginning and middle and end and bridges and a message and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's but it's rock and roll. It's rock and roll. Absolutely, all day long, all the time.
Well, I do not listen to enough music, so we're gonna try to play this real quick. Can't Shake Loose by the Sex Clark 5 with Joy riding the bass. Here we go.
Shake loose, the day's gone on, now they shovel the floor. There's nothing left to choose, I wait for it all to get wonderful. Pushes through the walls, steal my song, so I sing without my singing. Words in the way, I sit and watch it all drive around. I'm not in the street, I'm not touching the free. I'm not in the know, there's nowhere to go. The clothes all shine, the corporate underworld. I take what they give, and I cash it in for their dirty clothes. Pushes through the deep, and steal my sleep, so I dream about not dreaming. Walls in the way, I sit and drive it all way around. I'm not in the street, I'm not touching the tree. I'm not in the know, there's nowhere to go. I'm not in the street, I lost the beat, I wanna know. Where's the exit? I can't reach it, there's nowhere to go.
Damn, and that was also you on the lead vocals, huh?
Yes, that's why I picked that song. Yep, it was. Somebody wrote a review of us, said that our drummer out Ringo, and that my something along the lines of chronically flat vocals added or something like that. I think that I've gotten to be a better singer since then, and maybe it has to do with drinking less, after all. But anyway,
Well, I thought that fucking thumped, dog.
Yeah, that was good.
Certified banger.
And that was a minute and 20 seconds or something like that. That's a really typical song length for us.
Really y'all typical. Pack it in, man. Y'all pack it in. Like the changes in it, and like that slaps, dog. That's and I've listened to some other songs on that album. When I first started listening to it, I was like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, am I tripping, or is this like way faster. Like I had it on double speed because I watch all
Oh,
these fucking, YouTube
oh yeah,
videos,
yeah,
double speed and everything.
yeah. Oh yeah. That we're already fast enough. You do not need
Yeah,
to do that. I can't even
yeah. I
imagine.
thought I was on meth. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. So, but yeah, that thumps. And with that banger, we're gonna bang out some articles, and we're gonna start with this one right here. If I can get to it. Alabama voters banned prison slavery, but prisoners say it hasn't stopped. As a lawsuit tries to stop a forced prison labor program, a beer distributor is defending its own participation. This is by Sean Trawick from Truth Out, published just the other day, June 19th, 2025. And yeah,
So Sean Trawick is also known as Swift Justice, and he either is formerly incarcerated or is presently incarcerated, and has done a lot of work in Alabama with regards to prison abolition and trying to stop the forced work. So basically, yeah, even though Alabama in 2022 voted to approve a constitutional amendment forbidding forced labor among prisoners, prisoners are still being forced to work. So the courts and corporations are still using courts are still allowing it, and corporations are still making use of slave labor in Alabama's prisons. People are being punished if they refuse to work, or even if they can't work. If they're physically unable to work, they are being sent to the hole. They're having time added to their sentences. They are being punished in various ways.
As if being in an Alabama prison wasn't already bad enough.
Wasn't already bad enough since we have among the most overcrowded and dangerous prisons in the country.
Dangerous prisons.
So the article goes on to tell a couple of stories about prisoners who have suffered under this, including one who was incarcerated from 2007 to 2023. So for years, she was forced to work long daily hours of unpaid physical labor in the prison under threat of solitary confinement. So then she went to work on the road work crew, for which she was paid $2 a day. And then a work supervisor demanded
sexual favor from her.
Right. So she refused and reported into the prison, and they issued her a disciplinary offense for refusing to work and sent her back to unpaid work in the prison.
For example,
just as an example, that's one of the examples from the article that I thought was particularly egregious and wanted to call out.
Yeah, terrible. I think the article actually was kind of tame in talking about just, how they could have talked, I'm sure, about a lot of terrible stuff going on in the prisons.
Absolutely. And the author of the article, bless, has personal experience with these things and has been involved in lawsuits. And so it's quite a horrific thing. One of the corporations they call out in the article is Bama Budweiser, who is using essentially slave labor in their company. So,
and they're not the only company though here.
They're not the only one, but
they're particularly egregious in their excuses and so on. Yeah. Sorry, go on. I apologize.
No, it's all good. And the company, here's a quote from the company that they wrote in one of the passages of of their brief that they filed before the court. So they said, what we have then are 2 murderers, an attempted murderer, multiple violent felons, robbers, burglars, and drug dealers, and they come into this court complaining about having to work for a beer distributor. So they're trying to strip incarcerated people of constitutional protections by appealing to public fear and disgust. So, they're implying that just because they're convicted of whatever, that they don't have rights, that their labor can be stolen from them, and that their bodily autonomy is irrelevant. And those are some quotes from the article. So it's worth pressuring Bama Budweiser if you were a Budweiser consumer
Yeah.
to stop doing this. And yeah, it's a well-written article from Truth Out. It's titled "Alabama Voters Have Banned Prison Slavery, but Prisoners Say It Hasn't Stopped." And I encourage you to read it and you write to your Congress critters and possibly even to Budweiser and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Why is this still happening? Even though we banned it." 76% of Alabama voters voted for this bill.
That's, which in any voting situation is in my opinion, pretty incredible margin. And
especially for Alabama, I remember being surprised that it passed at all, let alone that it passed by such a high margin. Like, because typically the most reactionary thing is going to win in Alabama by double digits.
Well, I think that like I mentioned, the 70% of millennials digging a socialist president. I think this should give hope to people and make people think a little bit deeper about the average person that they encounter, and contradictions plenty that we all have. But I think that if 76% of voters voted for this, I think there's a lot of hope in Alabama to move things forward.
And it looks to me like there's a link from that 76% where probably you can look at the statistics, right? Yeah. It looks like there's a link, probably, hopefully going someplace that, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Good old Ballotpedia. That's a little diamond of a website. I've used it tons.
Oh, nice.
But yeah.
Can I just say two things about that article?
Of course.
One is I really appreciate his being clarifying this thing about bodily autonomy.
Yeah.
Being what slavery is. When you lose your bodily autonomy, that's slavery, right? I really like that clarity.
Yeah, bodily autonomy is the most fundamental kind of freedom there is.
Yeah.
Like, if you have everything else and don't have bodily autonomy, you are not free.
And so as a woman, particularly, I really appreciate that. Okay. Absolutely. But even never mind that issue or anything, just that clarity, it just really brings it home, what's going on. And the second thing I want to say is I would love to, back to your memes and stuff. Gee, is there other things we could be spending our money on to do something about, to uphold the social contract, to help people not have to be murderers and so on and so forth, to uplift people and give them community support and that kind of stuff that wouldn't put them in this situation. But for some reason, just like we are much more willing to spend our money on bombs and stuff, we're much more willing to spend our money on prisons. Part of the reason that we're willing to do that is because of this capitalist aspect of it, cheap labor that comes out of it.
Yeah.
It's not okay with me.
Absolutely not. So prisoners, the people suffering in Alabama's prisons are near and dear to my heart, and I just ask people to share that concern and do what they can to alleviate it. Yeah, our prisons blow a hole in the state budget every year. We spend a lot of money on it. People say we don't really have much in the way of for-profit prisons in Alabama, so it's not like people are making money. Like, we're spending money in order to achieve nothing. And whenever cities try to experiment with some of those more progressive approaches to crime that you mentioned, Joy, mm-hmm. There's statewide legislators and statewide political officials say, no, you can't do that. You have to do this failed tough on crime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a fellow that's running for attorney general, and his name is Jay something or other. He used to be on the Alabama Supreme Court, and Jay Mitchell is his name. So now he resigned from the Supreme Court in order to run for attorney general. And he wrote this op-ed, even though he personally has a background in doing youth interventions and things like that. So he knows this tough on crime approach doesn't work. He still wrote an op-ed recently that was saying, hey, these cities just need to get tough on crime, and that's what it takes. And it's just like, so he's appealing to the worst aspects of Alabama voters.
Yeah, I don't know how to what the takeaway from something like that is, other than corruption. He's got to be getting money. If he knows better, why is he saying an untruth?
Well, I think there are lots of reasons. Like A, he might be getting money, but B, like the rural voters, you know, like, I don't know, like there are a lot of people who are bought into this lock 'em up justice, and, you know, tough on crime is the only way. And I think he's purposely being stupid so that he can win votes from the mouth breathers in this state.
Yeah, but we're never going to do better if we just keep doing the same thing. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, no, exactly.
I can recognize a few of them sins you talked about, but you know, hypocrisy, being lying, willful ignorance, and whatnot, for sure. And, you know, I'm sure this man, along with most of them other ones, consider themselves Christian, and, you know, it goes against the basic love thy neighbor, you know.
And where is the room for forgiveness and mercy and turning the other cheek in Alabama's justice system?
Dude, that's for white people.
Yeah, like these are supposed to be the core values of Christianity. And yet we have built like one of the most punitive and vengeful and cruel prison systems on the planet.
Yeah,
only
they speak out of
Salvador has a higher incarceration rate than us.
And that's because ICE sends all of their prisoners down there.
Yeah.
Hey, Corey.
What up, Corey? Good to see you.
It's all good. You get here when you can. We're always glad to have you. We're running a little bit late ourselves.
But yeah, there's an excellent article I saw a Blue Sky account. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a prison project. It was a project for incarcerated people to actually teach them journalism and stuff. I wish I could remember it, but I saw that this week. It's not coming to me. It's like the American prison justice. I don't know. That's why we're unprofessional, folks. But there's basically, I'm trying to say there's a program out there that teaches incarcerated folks to be journalists, and there's a couple. There's, I think, mentioned in here is the Free Alabama movement, which I got to go to. Yeah, I got to go to an art installation at Low Mill late last year, it feels like. That also that was very moving. And there's a podcast by an Alabamian. Damn, another thing escaping my recollections. But there's a podcast out there by Alabama journalists. Maybe I can find it real quick before we move on.
I know there's prison radio, but I don't think that's Alabama, is it?
So the Free Alabama movement used to record something. They used to be able to access journalists on the outside through cell phones that they had.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're still broadcasting from the prison, or I don't know what's been going on with the Free Alabama movement.
I mean, they're still active. They're still doing stuff for sure. And yeah, there's 15. I'll just read a few. I'll go through this real quick. 15 best prison podcasts. There's Beyond Prisons, the Prison Radio audio feed, Uncuffed, Prison Pipeline, Voices from the Other Side, Reimagining Prisons, Necessary Blackness Podcast, Bird Podcast, Forgotten Prison, Life of a Lifer, Prison Pod Productions, Curtain the Podcast, Prison, the Hidden Sentence Podcast, Hutchinson News, Inside Prison Walls, and it says there's about 414 more. So there's some emails available. I'll drop this in the chat. Oh.
I just think that this prison sort of conundrum or whatever. Hey, Corey, it's just, to me, is speaking to this like you were talking about the Christian values not being used. There's just a tendency for people to treat other people like they're not people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And prisoners are one of those people that we've decided are not really people. And
they're not really people, so you can do whatever the hell you want to. And that is exactly how the slaves were thought of, right?
Absolutely.
And codified into they're not even a whole person, right?
Yeah.
And Palestinians are, and why not bomb Iran? Because they're not people or something. I don't get it.
Well, yeah, rich folks, they don't look at us as people. We're all various degrees of subhumans to them, which,
if you're not cheap labor, then you're not worth their time.
Yeah, it's the other way around. They're the ones that act subhuman. So
yep. Mm-hmm.
So with that, any final thoughts before we move on to some other articles, where we're just gonna kind of hit the headlines a little bit and then say goodnight?
Yeah, I've got to go at 10.
Okay, well let's be fast then. We've got both parties in the Senate prepping for a mega bill marathon, vote-a-rama. There's Cuck Schumer right there. And yeah, that's going to be going down. Democrats have 47 votes in the Senate compared to 53 for the Republicans. A messy process. And says Democrats are developing a strategy. Might not help in this state, but maybe call some of these legislators around the country and just say you're in their district anyway. You're in their state. And, I mean, they do, and apply some psychological pressure on them. Love this little story. We got Goodman, an American Star is Born, and he's from Alabama. Hoover, Alabama native Chris Richards gives the U.S. a 1-0 lead against monarchist Saudi Arabia in the 63rd minute on Thursday in Austin, Texas. U.S. is 2-0 in the group stage of the Gold Cup. So shout out to...
Are we talking about soccer? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And it goes on.
I am like sports ignorant, okay?
Yeah, me too. I don't know anything about sports.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I'll be the sports guy.
Good.
But yeah, shout out. Last little, it was the look of a new Captain America with a style that's all Alabama.
I can dig that. Sorry.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, dog. Roll Tide.
My
But
only concern in that story is, besides playing soccer, has he done anything with his Cock Schumer? With I caught that too. With his education, is he working? You know, is he making good on his educational opportunities?
I hear you because
Okay.
yeah, you can't be on that field forever for sure.
Well, I don't even care if you are on the field forever. You have a brain, you know. It's part of your responsibility as a good citizen to try to be a good thinker. We need more of that, don't you think?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm sorry.
It's ju-
I'll try to get
Nobody
off
should.
of that.
No, everybody should always be learning. That's something I talk to the kids about. And uh, my little one actually said one of the tools we had was our brains.
Oh, amen. That's an excellent observation.
So
Yes.
during the People's
Thank you.
Movement Assembly. So we got 3 years of patient safety reports flag worrying trends at Alabama Hospital. CO says not that simple. And this goes on to talk about the
It's
hospital,
Huntsville
the
Hospital.
hospital.
I'll
Yep,
be damned.
sure enough. And
I just saw a little graph that showed that bed sores were rising.
yeah,
That's disturbing.
but yeah,
That's not good.
we got some stuff. Uh, we're ready. Yeah, some good brains.
Yep, yep.
This is family friendly show.
And I haven't got to eat brain, but I know a few that I wouldn't mind eating. Um, so yeah, it talks about what's going on in the Huntsville hospital system and its increase in well uh, infections and issues, and it goes pretty in depth. So I suggest everybody take a deeper look at that. With that, we got a contract. Workers lose benefits as UNA hires private contractor. It wasn't worth saving. And yeah, out in UNA, they privatized, I guess.
I
Got
thought you
rid
said
of,
this was a family friendly show.
yeah,
Don't let him say privatize, please.
uh, some jobs out there. I think with the custodial work going on, and they got rid of them as state workers with a lot more benefits, more pay, and everything. And yeah, it's another issue in the state regarding workers' rights.
Well, and can I just take a minute to get back on my education soapbox?
Of
You know, we
course,
got the Choose Act out of our last state legislature session, which is funneling our money to private schools and stuff. And do you know that private schools um, pay their teachers less? You have
yeah,
way worse. You don't get benefits. You're paid way worse. All kinds of stuff like that. That's another symptom of exactly this sort of thinking.
for sure.
Sorry.
We were talking about uh, the how we've built everything around oil and cars. Alabama Department of Transport (ALDOT) road projects total almost 390 million in the Huntsville metro. Here's where they stand. That goes more in depth here, but I wonder how much
Oh
a
my God.
public transportation system we got widening the I-565, widening the 72, northern bypass, and other projects. But it just FYI, y'all, widening roads never helps with traffic.
Well, it's one of these situations where Jevons paradox applies, where
Yep, that's
so-called
right.
efficiencies cause things to be used more often.
Uh-huh.
So, like
Good
as
example.
our electrical appliances have become more efficient, one of the knockdown effects of that has been an increase in electricity use.
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, if you widen the roads, you just add people just say, "Oh, it's wider. I can drive down it." You just need that. It creates more traffic,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it'll be just as full of traffic as it is now.
Yep.
Yeah. Corey brings up a quick question. What is the rate of wrecks post-COVID return to work?
No telling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good
I would
question.
say less than good. We got a conservation group with a W to pay $60 million to stop Alabama mining company project in Georgia. So a conservation group said Friday has reached a $60 million deal to buy land outside the Okefenokee Swamp from a mining company that environmentalists spent years battling over a proposed mine that opponents feared could cause irreparable damage to an ecological treasure. So the Conservation Fund will buy all 7,700 acres that the Alabama-based Twin Pines Materials owns outside the Okefenokee. So that's some good news right there.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's not like you can expect people to come up with $60 million to save the day every other time you turn around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh snap! We got Treo.
Oh.
Yeah. That is Huntsville Hospital. But yeah, welcome Treo. So every single person I've talked to who worked there at the Huntsville Hospital, including my younger brother 10 years ago, says it's an absolute shit show. Why am I
Well,
not?
that has everything to do with they try to pay their workers as little as possible.
Cut staffing on hours. It just cascade of issues.
Yep.
Did y'all know we had an earthquake today?
I did not know that.
I know.
However, I remember that when we had an earthquake, it was back in about 20 years ago or so, 21 years ago or so. And I remember they were talking about we were maybe going to have one. And the middle of the night, I woke up because the stuff on my dresser was like shaking. And I just woke up and I said, well, that's really weird. I didn't think there was a train that went by here. That's what I was like. I was thinking a train went by and it was causing things. And it wasn't until the morning when I actually woke up when I went, oh, that was the earthquake that they were talking about. But, apparently we live on a major fault and are past due for something. Kind of big.
Yeah.
I don't know. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
We like it though. We like
okay.
it.
Exactly. We got you on the show to talk.
We're just running up on time, and
Yeah.
Jay's gonna have to leave here. Real quick, Alabama lawmakers Ormore and Yarborough signed Moms for Liberty Parental Rights Pledge. That's nice to hear. Scumbags. Arthur Orr out in Decatur, and Moore in Hartsville, and Yarborough and Trinity.
Or is my state senator.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
And we got massive SNAP cuts could kill hundreds of Alabama grocery stores and send hunger soaring. Jimmy Wright fears at Wright's Market, independent grocery store in Opelika, about 35% of its customers use SNAP. And yeah, so a map of the 18 counties and with the highest risks. This is down through the Black Belt.
Yep.
Also extends into Mississippi and over into Georgia, y'all. So yeah. And that's what that Votorama will be covering. And last little thing, Alabama County Commissioner tells followers to arm themselves against No Kings protest. We kind of mentioned this the other week. Cleburne County Commissioner Mark Truitt posted on Facebook that friends without cordless hole punchers arm themselves with pepper spray. He looks like a man that would say something.
Has not been taking care of his brain. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, he's a big tough guy.
Yeah.
So is that supposed to be a funny cordless hole punchers is guns?
Yeah, he says it's guns. He confirmed later that the cordless hole puncher is a euphemism for gun.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because he says you can't say the word gun on Facebook, but I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, that's definitely not true. That's definitely not true. But yeah, and,
Oh yeah. Oh, great.
but he got a lot of pushback by the community there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Fucking chicken shit.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, folks, that's the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I had a blast.
It was our pleasure.
You better be back on again. You got an open seat anytime to come back on.
Don't tempt me.
Oh, I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
you come on every week.
You can check out Slop on Wednesday nights.
Yeah, you come on Slop too.
Yeah, Slop. I need to find out about that.
Yeah, it's you know, where we look at more like national and international stuff going on, and but yeah, and try to hit a we do something else. I can't remember, but yeah. But any final words before we go, Joy?
Just thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for having me on and listening to me, and thank you for your kind words, and keep it up.
Yeah, we got your back, dog. We got your back. Y'all join the Green Party. Help build it up. Jay, you got anything before we go?
A couple of last minute things. So, according to a poll, Alabamians, or I'm sorry, not Alabamians, but Americans favor labor unions over big business now more than ever. And I wish I could show you the chart, but it's starting in 2012. So before 2012, the opinion of labor unions and big business largely followed each other. Like when one would dip, the other would dip as well. But starting in 2012, there was a big increase in support for labor unions and a big decrease in support for big business. And now they're as widely diverged as they have ever been.
Yeah.
So there is that. I'm
I'll
sorry.
Tea to that.
I can remember my stepdad talking about those unions. They want too much, and they're just gonna shoot themselves in the foot and all that kind of stuff. So this is the other end of that. Yay,
The propaganda is failing, folks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Amen.
And one other poll says almost half of Democrats say a third party is necessary.
Yay. And can I just say, please go read the platform for the Green Party. It's fabulous.
It is really good.
You're allowed to set up whatever third party you want, but we've already been working on ballot access and structure. We're grassroots funded, but anyway. So we're not like polished. We don't have the polish of the DNC or whatever. But you don't want that, okay?
Hell no.
So come on over and check us out, okay?
It's happening. Yeah.
That's what I had. Those are my last minute items.
Well, with that, I want to say to all the folks that came out and hung with us tonight, thank you so much. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. Help build the socialist voices up in Alabama so we can eat the rich and love thy neighbor. So yeah, with that, as we like to say around here, thank you very much, Corey, and all the power to all the people. We the people break our chains together. Solidarity forever, y'all.
Solidarity forever.
Okay.